Only 3 races remain until the chase cutoff, and that's 2 weeks from now at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. But today is easily the wildest wildcard race that we will have in those 3 races. And anyone starting up front in this one here today can go to victory lane. Last year we saw Chase Buck get the race victory here on this road course. McGrattan Autosport, they locked out the front row, and they have won the last 3 road courses of the season here in the Wawa Cup Series. It's the 20th race of the season. We're here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. It's the Tim Hortons Canadian Grand Prix, and it's 21 laps around this 2.71-mile road course. This race is going to play a pivotal part in who makes the chase 2 weeks from now. Let's see who ends up winning here today, and who ends up putting themselves in a good position heading into Pocono and Atlanta in the next 2 weeks. Race 20 of the season here in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series from Montreal. Hello everybody, this is AG here, and welcome to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in Montreal, Canada. The 20th race of the season here in the Wawa Cup Series. Only 13 races left until we crown a champion. Only 3 races left until we set the chase. And of course, we were on racetrack just a few days ago at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. We saw Duncan Ward go to victory lane over there. But that racetrack and this racetrack, though there are a couple of similarities, are very different from one another. And we saw a very unique qualifying session, and Ludovic Charette getting into the Fast 6 right at the end of the main session to give her an opportunity of winning this pole here today at her home racetrack. Still looking for her first ever win. I got Stuart and Echo alongside us for this race. And Stuart, I'm going to start off with you because you got 2 of your drivers starting on the front row, and I know Ludovic is just dying for a race victory here in the Wawa Cup Series. This is her home racetrack. How special would it be for her to finally get it done here this season in the Wawa Cup Series in Montreal?
Well, there are 2 different aspects to it. Obviously, winning your home race here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, very, very, very important to her, and I think that goes without saying. But also, the fact that she has, she's had a great year in terms of results. Well, not last week, but accentuating circumstances, we'll just say. She's had a great year, but hasn't quite got that win. So, this is the 20th race of the year. She won 4 races in the championship last year, and for her to win this race, just to get one, would be a bit of a relief, a bit of a reliever for her, and especially here at her home racetrack, it would mean the world. But you got a lot of fast cars up there, so it's going to be a challenge. And hopefully, I'm just praying that this week, this race, that these guys keep it nice and clean. That's not what happened last week, last race.
Yeah, of course, this is definitely a very unique racetrack, and it is a treacherous race course. And of course, we are on the road course, so there are no cautions. That's going to definitely play a factor in how this race ends up shaking out for certain drivers. And Echo, you guys had a great run with your team in qualifying. You got Kiersabel starting 4th, Rasha Mahendra in the hot seat starting in 8th, and Jack Haas starting in 12th. I'm going to focus on Jack because he's now 20 points behind after getting taken out at the end of last week's race, or Tuesday's race at Gateway. What does he need to do to move himself back into the top 10 here in these last 3 races and avoid having to fall back on the wild card?
Well, I believe Kirsten was in a very similar position in this race last year. And, she started way at the back of the field and managed to move her way up into the top 15 at the end. So for Jack, I think what he needs to do is just stay where you are. Don't get too aggressive. He's been pretty fine at just keeping where he is. As much as falling back in the wild card probably isn't what he wants to do, it's probably going to be better off for him if he can at least hold on to the wild card. But to make up points, you're going to need to contend with a lot of those faster cars like the TRT cars and even my other cars. So for Jack, just keep it smooth. Just try and get the best finish you can. Don't overdo it.
And we'll have to see how he does in this one. He's been close, and he's run very well in so many of these races, but yet he still sits 13th in the championship standings, 20 points behind the official chase cutoff. But he does have, as you see, 54 points on the wild card. But the wild card is the wild card, because the wild card of the wild card is that someone can win a race and then put their name in the wild card. And that could happen here today with drivers like Matthew Hubert and Avery Alford starting in the top 10. And watch out for those drivers. Logan Williams, if he wins, will put himself in the top 10 in points. He's had a couple of bad runs as of late. that are not really of his own doing, unfortunately. He actually did rebound fairly well on Tuesday night at Gateway. But they're all led still by Ludovic Schredt, even though she finished 41st on Tuesday night at Gateway. 94 points on the cutoff, and she could easily clinch that championship chase spot here today. She's going to need, well, 94 points, as a matter of fact, to clinch that, because maximum amount of points that you can get in the next two races would be 96, and the maximum gap between the most points and the least amount of points is 47. So 47, that's 94. So 94 is the highest someone could be and tie. So if Ludovic Schredt is 95 points ahead, I should say, or more after this race, she will lock a spot into the chase, guaranteed. Duncan Ward, looking pretty good. Last week's winner, Tuesday's winner. Last week's winner was Daniel Paulus Jr. Tuesday's winner was Duncan Ward, 63 points ahead. And then there's Daniel Paulus Jr., the Mango Man, 60 points ahead of the chase cutoff right there. He's been really good in that 54 machine, 14 Velocity Travis Crampton, Tanner Parton's teammate there in the 98 machine, 54 points ahead. And then you get down to guys that have to be careful. Laura Chung, 24 points ahead. She can't afford many more of these poor finishes in the series. Isaac Nichols only 21 points ahead. He was second in the standings going in the Gateway. Got taken out in that Ludovic Schredt Drew Webb incident. Nathan Smith, 17 points ahead. Kirsten Bell, 11 points ahead. Blaine Keys has found himself 4 points ahead, but he starts 28th here today. And then Alex Amitali and Logan Williams are tied for the cutoff at the moment. And Alex Amitali has the better average finishing position on Logan Williams, just by a little bit. That's the second tiebreaker behind wins, and Sam Amitali currently holds that. Avery Alford, 17 behind. Jack Haas, 20 behind. Tanner Parton, 28 behind. Andrew Miller, 35 behind. Those are really the only realistic chances to make the top 10 in these next three races. And you got Jack Haas, 54 ahead of the wild card. Miller, 39 points ahead of the wild card. And Troxel, 39 behind. Of course, Troxel took himself out, took Jack Haas out at Gateway at the end of the race. And it's just not been a good run for Troxel, and not a good run in qualifying for Pacific Racing either. As a matter of fact, their highest qualifier in this race is Haley Anderson Jr. in the 92 machine. Both Troxel and Key starting deep in the field here at Montreal. Let's go ahead and get these drivers to roll off here and then go through the starting lineup here for the Tim Hortons Canadian Grand Prix. And of course, in qualifying yesterday, actually 2 days ago on Thursday, we saw Grattan Autosport lock up the front row with Ludovic Schredt and the uncharted driver, the full-time uncharted driver there at Grattan Autosport, Darian Arnsdorf. So we'll have to see what you guys do here today, Stuart. It's going to be very fun to watch your drivers from the front row. Avery Alford, Kirsten Bell. I know you're rooting for Kirsten Echo, looking for her second win of the season, looking to extend her gap on that chase cutoff after this one here today. Matthew Huber needs a good run, and really, of all the GRT guys, he's the only one that really hasn't had any success this season. Even Drew Webb has gone the victory lane. But Matthew Hubert there alongside Logan Williams there in row number 3. And Nathan Smith in the 06. Only one win on the season, but he has done excellent as of late to put himself top 10 in the points. Alongside the hot seat there for Evans Ross Racing and Rashia Mahendra driving the 91 here in Montreal. You got Daniel Paulus Jr. and Andrew Miller making up row number 5. Travis Crampton, Jack Haas in row 6 there. Isaac Nichols and Laura Chung in row 7, Bernardo Oliveira, Nicholas Sambidio, Duncan Ward, Christian Master, Philip Torres, and Haley Anderson Jr., Tanner Parton, Alex Amitali, Thomas Troxel, all guys kind of, well, Troxel's even further back, but Parton and Samitali trying to make that chase cutoff, and Samitali right on the bubble coming into this race, and it's not as far into the bubble, far on the bubble, close to the bubble, I should say, as he could possibly be, as he's tied with Logan Williams, beating him on the average finishing. Logan would surpass him the way they currently run to start this race, so it's going to be interesting to see what Sam Amitali does. It's going to be interesting to see what this whole field does. And Stuart and then Echo, I want your thoughts. Who's going to victory lane here in the Tim Hortons Canadian Grand Prix here for the 20th race of the season?
Out of fear of jinxing my two drivers here, I'm not going to pick either of them. I'm going to go second row. I'm going to go with your driver, Echo. Kirsten Bell has always been very competitive on the road courses in and around the top 10, and obviously the car is clearly good enough to win here today, starting from 4th, and will get a good jump off the line. So give me the 93 this one.
I'll counter that and I'll take the 51. Ludovic Schredt has, home track, finished second at Coda, ran very fast there, probably should have won that race, but just couldn't get by the 18. He's a very good road course driver, and honestly, very overdue for a win this year. I'll take that 51 to win this race.
And of course, on the last 3 road courses in the Wawa Cup Series, it was first, and second, only to her teammate Drew Webb, which Stuart, I think you kind of feel like Ludovic should have won that race, but these guys still got the win there. Only one win for Grattan Autosport officially. The GRT as a whole has been very successful. Of course, Parker Davis Enterprises, they've got 3 wins between Isaac Nichols and Nathan Smith, and then Daniel Paulus Jr. winning as driver this season with a total of 4 wins, looking for number 5 here today. We'll just have to see what he can do. He has a good starting position there in 9th. But it's still a long race. 21 laps, 1 cycle of pit stops in this event here today. And normally on these road courses we have 2, but you'll see a bit of an extended pit stop. We're going to call it an IMSA stop. They have to have minimum fuel, and I'm sure a lot of these guys on Tuesday would have liked to have had that near the end of that race. But hey, here we go. All 42 drivers ready to get going here in Montreal, Canada. And Ludovic Schreck going to lead us off to the green flag in her home race. Here we go for the 20th race of the season, and we're underway in the Tim Hortons Canadian Grand Prix. And a great jump for Darian Arnsdorf. Is able to keep it alongside Ludovic there, and contact going in the turn 4. Arnsdorf will clear and hold on to the race lead. Ludovic a little loose there off the exit of turn number 5. A little bit of contact back in there. Arashi Mahedra a little wide, but they get through it. They get through it relatively cleanly. Oh, Parton's around in the 97. And that's going to jam these guys up a little bit in the back of the field. Tanner Parton, Bruno Diacomo has damage in the 24 machine, and Blaine Keys also got caught up in that as well. And that is the detriment to starting deep in the field in a race such as this one. Back to the race lead. Darian Arnsdorf holding on to it. Ahead of Ludovic Schreck, Kirsten Bell, Avery Alford, Logan Williams, and Matthew Huber. A little bit of a jam up back there between Nathan Smith, Paulus, Rashi Mahedra, Andrew Miller, Laura Chong. Contact here between Crampton and Nichols. And this is another tricky corner right here. The top 25 had a pretty clean start to the race right there. And then you had those guys who got jammed up. You see the damage on Bruno Diacomo. Tanner Parton was up in the air there for a moment. But everyone, and Blaine got the worst of it in the 32 machine. This is not at all what he needed at the start of this race.
Yeah, they got caught up right in the middle of it. And as you said, this is what happens when you start at the rear sometimes, particularly at a track like this where it can be quite tight and twisty, and it can create a little bit of chaos. So, very tough break for Blaine, and I don't know, 91 in the wall. That's not the first time. And
Oliveira as well.
Yeah, both of them in the wall. It's not the first time.
No one around
right there.
Troxel
is on the pit road.
And Thomas Troxel with an issue as well. It's a disastrous day for Pacific Racing. And I think Troxel and Diacomo, they were both caught up. You saw that in the corner of your screen and kind of got an idea of just what the damage was. And I think Blaine's also going to come down as well. But both Troxel and Diacomo are going to be out of contention in this race. Those are guys 19th and 20th in points. And then Blaine moved his way into the top 10. And he's going to fall back outside again. And he started 28th. He cannot start that deep in the field on a racetrack such as this one. And he's going to pay the price for that one. How about this between Logan Williams and Matthew Hubert? Hubert making the move on the 95. Hubert taking advantage of this opportunity. This is one of the best starting positions he has had all season long. And he wants a shot at the race victory and a shot at maybe, just maybe, getting in that wild card. Kirsten Bell trying to hold off Avery Alfred, and Ludovic Schreck trying to close up to her teammate of Darian Arnsdorf. Uncharted driver leading this field here at Montreal.
And right now, I think they just got to settle in right here. Just click off some laps. The race isn't gonna end anytime soon, so just be patient. Just let it kick out, and we're gonna see more. So I think the pit stop is gonna decide everything. Last year when we saw Chase Buck go to victory lane, it was almost all on that pit stop where he was able to get those fresher tires and make up the ground.
Drivers going through the final corner again. Wall of Champions. If I'm not mistaken, I'm correct about that, right?
Yes.
Yes. I do know a little bit about this racetrack. I know more about this than I do Le Mans, which we did that race yesterday. And they're finally kind of getting organized up front. And then this is a race that we'll see these guys run single file quite a bit. Though we will see some passing that takes place throughout the course of the event. But it looks like everyone kind of got through that. Blaine's going back out on the racetrack, though. He's going to be a lap down in the 32 machine. We'll have to see if he can do anything with that. But with a race that has no cautions, he's going to get spun by Fitzwater. Oh, brother. It just keeps on getting worse for Blaine Keys, and he's going to have to hope for more DNFs in this race, and that's why he's trying to stay out there on the salvage as much as he can. but this might be the race that takes Blaine Keys out of championship contention. And who would have thought that we'd be talking about Blaine Keys in a Pacific Racing car missing the chase this season. Ludovic's got a run on Arnsdorf right here, and I think Ludovic's got a little bit better skill than this 11 and an equally prepared car, and I think at some point we're going to see Ludovic go for this race lead on Darian Arnsdorf, but it's going to be hard to do so. Not many opportunities to make that pass. And Stuart, I know you're kind of in an odd position here. I know you want to see both of your guys do well, but I know you really want to see Ludovic, who's in championship contention, finally get that race victory and get her home win here in Montreal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I'm happy with a 1-2 at the moment. I think for Ludovic, still would like to consolidate that top position in the championship with a win, and obviously get some bonus points when the chase actually starts. To get as many as you possibly can. But Darian's doing a great job in the 11.
And of course, too, keep in mind that the full-time Uncharted drivers, they also do drivers' ratings. They didn't get the boost at the beginning of the season like the full-time charter drivers, but they've got, 20 or, they've got 19 forums that they have done. So they've got a lot of points under their belt as well. Ludovic just has more than Darian does because of that boost, and that might play into a factor later on. But hey, keep in mind, Chase Buck won this race last year, and let's be honest, Chase Buck, he wasn't keeping up with it as much as all the guys behind him in that race. And, well, I say that, here we go for the race lead. Ludovic Schrett's got an opportunity here. And it looks like that 51's going to make it look easy. And, I don't know, maybe a little bit of team orders. Great job out of Darian Arnsdorf letting the 51 by, but Ludovic Schret has taken the race lead here in Montreal. And all the virtual fans are definitely cheering on Ludovic here in her home race. Great run there for Ludovic, but still a long ways left to go here in this Tim Hortons Canadian Grand Prix.
I think Darian's just holding up everybody here. Doing a valiant effort in that car right now, but I think you're going to start to see that a lot of these drivers back here are just going to start to get held up by the 11 and just going to start making those moves. As the tires wear out, you're going to be able to make those dive bombs more and more.
Matthew Hubert trying to take a different line close up to Avery Alford and these guys. I feel like that 15 machine is actually quite quick. And his teammate, Daniel Paulus Jr., is currently running there in the 8th position. Or no, 9th. No, 7th. Went the wrong way. Williams has fallen back to 8th. Now, Logan, I think, just needs to salvage a good run here today. He's going to surpass Blaine Keys the way they currently run, and he's also going to surpass Alex Sanventali. And I think for Logan, an attempt to just make his first ever chase is really what he wants. As Bernardo de Oliveira is coming down the pit lane. Remember, he tapped the outside wall. Gutierrez is also down. Braden Perez is also down the pit lane. I'm wondering if we had something go down between those guys on that lap. We'll take a look at that. If something did happen, you'll see that in the corner of your screen. And, yep, they're all getting damaged right there, so they got caught up in something. And, do our best to capture all that takes place around the race course here today, but when we don't have any cautions, it's hard to kind of see it as it happens in real time. Here comes Hubert trying to make a move on Alford, and Alford really aggressive there through the chicane, and Hubert going to try all he can to get around this 13 machine. I feel like Hubert's got a faster car.
Hubert's definitely faster. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Hubert does have a faster car at the moment, as you see Kirsten trying to run off that turn, and Ludovic couldn't quite pass heading into the hairpin. Can Kirsten make the move? Doesn't look like it. But I think Hubert does have a faster car at the moment. But for Alford, the importance of this race cannot be understated.
Mm-hmm.
He's 12th in points. We talk about Logan gaining on guys like Keys, for example. Alford's probably the biggest winner at the moment. He's gaining the most amount of points on the guys inside the top 10. But he needs to make the most of this opportunity in this race.
And right now he is doing that because he would actually also surpass Blaine Keys, and he's 17 ahead of Sanventali, and Sanventali, well, 20th right now, and that's 16 spots right there. So Sanventali still have a point ahead of Alford after this is all said and done the way they currently run. I don't think Williams has that fast of a car. Andrew Miller now trying to close in. Miller's another guy who's kind of just been in this weird position holding on to that second wild card, and he really hasn't had to do much to hold on to it because Troxel keeps on shooting himself in the foot here, and he did so again in this race as he's all the way back in 40th now. And of course, Gateway on Tuesday did not help Troxel's cases at all. It's looking like Pacific Racing is going to get shut out of the chase, which is definitely a shame. The other Toyota team there, as Hubert's got a shot now, and I think he's going to make this one work on Avery Alford. Alford's going to have to check up a little bit more there. Hubert can get that wider line, get the momentum coming off the corner. And Matthew Hubert up to the 4th position now here in the Canadian Grand Prix. And Hubert trying to close in, maybe have a shot on his pseudo-teammate of Ludovic Charette right here. These are the only 2 GRT drivers, full-time charter GRT drivers, I should say, that have yet to go to victory lane. That's Ludovic Charette and Matthew Hubert, and right now they're the 2 highest of the full-time drivers that are driving for GRT in this one. Arnsdorf still holding on to 2nd as Kirsten Bell in 3rd. Alford, Nathan Smith, Daniel Paulus Jr. Paulus looking to the inside of Nathan Smith through the hairpin. A little hard to get the inside lane to work, though, going down the straightaway. And Williams had a shot there. But, or should I say, Miller had a shot right there. And Williams did not let him by. We got Raji Mahendra back in the top 10. Jack Haas is in 11th. Laura Shung, Travis Crampton, Isaac Nichols, Nicholas Sambadillo. He needs a win to have a shot, and this is just simply not going to do it for him. Duncan Ward down in 16th. Haley Anderson Jr., the only Pacific Racing driver without any issues here today. She's done an excellent job in the races she has made her way into. Christian Master, Brad Stover, Alex Samatali, that's the top 20. Philip Torres, Trey Bartow, Brian Webb, Drew Webb, Rogel Dorn. Then you got LJ Semedo, Jesse Turner. One of the better runs Turner has had all season in that 47 machine. Looking forward to seeing Turner actually be with a good team next year. Bryce Egan.
One of the better runs for the whole Hamill team. I mean,
yeah, well then, you know, let's be honest, that team's not coming back next year. So we'll definitely see Rogel and Turner in better positions. You got Bryce Egan, Dylan Matthews, Justin Seidel, Campbell Marsh, Roberto Crown Jr., Zachary Fitzwater. Blaine is still out there a lap down. Bruno Diacomo, Angel Gutierrez have come down the pit lane to repair damage. Same with Bernardo de Oliveira, Thomas Troxel, Jared Martin, and Braden Perez. Leonard Kochmer in the 41, Tanner Parton have also come down to repair damage. And keep in mind that the fuel window is just a little bit past halfway in this race, so these drivers are definitely going to struggle again, fall back a lap down, multiple laps down by the time this race is done, because they're going to have to make another stop in this race. Hubert has closed it up to the back bumper of Kirsten Bell. And we'll see if Hubert can make a move on the 93. And Darian Arnsdorf, you know, I think you got to be liking what you're seeing, Stuart. Ludovic Shred is pulling away, and Arnsdorf has been holding up Kirsten right here. And now Ludovic's got a 3.5-second lead here on lap number 7.
Yeah, it just continues to grow for Ludovic. She's in clear air, although Tanner Parton closing in, so you've got to be careful with the lap traffic in that regard. But the 11 just doesn't have that speed that the 51 does. At the moment, someone else is on pit road. Not sure who that is.
Looks like Diacono.
Yeah, well, he's already had some troubles today, hasn't he?
Ooh.
So, someone had an incident up into turn 1 and 2. I have to check that one. But I want to go back to Hubert. I mean, the 15. I don't think he's had a bad season. I don't think he's that bad of a driver. I know that the results, he's way down in the championship, and I mean, even if he does win today, it'd be hard for him to get in. But I don't think it's indicative of the speed that he has. So I hope that, hopefully he can have a good, strong run to end the season. And also, just quietly, 5 GRT cars inside the top 7 right now. So pretty good position to be in at the moment.
Looks like Raje's had a bit of a tough race. But then again, they are a hot seat driver, and they have no driver rating. So you got to be proud of this one, Echo. That is simply the car doing the work here today, and Raje's trying to hold on as much as they can. That is 12th right now for the 91. They were up to 10th at one point. Crampton is 13th. Isaac Nichols there right behind. I will say, if Hubert does win this race, which, now a 5-second lead for Ludovic Charette. This is looking good for the 51. Still a long ways left to go. But if Hubert were to win this race, his biggest fan would actually be Jack Haas. Because if that 39 jumps into the top 10 and knocks out guys who have not won races yet this season, Hubert's probably going to jump Thomas Troxel in the points, and it'll be Hubert and Miller who get the wild card. That could happen. That is a possible scenario, so we'll see if that ends up being the case. Ludovic Charette has closed up to the back bumper of Tanner Parton, who was involved in that accident earlier on. And they still have not been able to get around Darian Arnsdorf here. The tires are wearing out, and it just makes it so much harder for these guys to make the passes later on in the run. But we'll be closing in on the cycle of pit stops for the entire field here in just a few moments. Ludovic Charette now a 6.5-second lead. She's gaining a second and a half nearly every lap right here. This is a great run. A lot of anger built up. She's got a huge chip on her shoulder, even though she is the points leader in this series. After what happened on Tuesday, the fact she's gotten this long without a race victory, she wants this more than anyone here today. She's got to be careful getting around the lap traffic.
I will also say the lap traffic could be the spot where Ludovic falters. With the lap traffic, with how hard it's been to pass, 51's really the only one we were able to see get by the 11 car. You might see the lap traffic maybe kind of hold her up a little bit and let these cars close back up just a tiny bit. I'm not sure if it will happen, but it very well could.
Still kind of stuck behind this 97. She's not been able to get around Tanner Parton. And Hubert actually under fire again from Alfred. Alfred might have an opportunity here at getting around the 15 machine going into the hairpin. That's going to be a tough spot to make a pass, though, as we have seen here today. But Alfred's going to do all he can to make it stick. Just not able to get that drive off there, and Hubert able to get in the gas way earlier off the exit of the corner. Cycle pit stop will make this interesting as well, because if we get one lap difference between some of these guys, you're going to have different sets of tires and different wear on the tires going forward. And Alfred going to try again on Hubert here to come in through the final two corners. It's a very treacherous spot.
Alfred's really pressuring Hubert here. I think Alfred may have just let Hubert go, see if Hubert could get by the 93 as the 91's coming down pit road.
But Mahendra, Christian Master, Duncan Ward coming down, and Duncan's not had a really good day. That 23 machine, I'm wondering if he also got a bit of damage there. I'm not sure if there is any damage on the 23. It's some of the guys coming in the back of the field. It's a little bit earlier than what these guys would have wanted. Coming in on lap 9 of 21. So we'll see how that ends up affecting those guys. And we'll see a similar situation to what we saw at Gateway on Tuesday for some of the guys in the back of the field. None of the main race leaders came down, and I would expect them to stay out the next lap so they can assure them make it to the rest of the race. Little Sam Adio there on Travis Crampton. That is for 13th. Good battle right here. Shame for Sam Adio this season, who has finished top 3 in the championship standings in all 4 of the rating series we have done between Wawa Cup Series and Circuit Gilles Truck Series, but unless a miracle happens at Pocono or Atlanta, or today, here in Montreal, this race isn't over yet. It's looking like Sam Badillo is going to fail to make the chase for the first time in his career. These guys still jamming up here around Hubert.
Ludovic has actually gotten held up by the 97 because the 11 she didn't gain any time on the 11 last lap, and I'm not sure what it'll look like this lap, but they definitely look a fair bit closer.
She's coming down now. So a bit of an undercut right here for Ludovic Charette, and it looks like all these guys are going to be coming down the pit lane a little bit earlier than we anticipated as well. A little bit of strategy here at Montreal. We'll have to see how this ends up affecting the rest of this race. They're going to cross the line right there, and it's 11 laps to go when they cross the line right there for Ludovic Charette. So I imagine it's going to be a 4-tire stop and fuel for all of these drivers. We'll have to see how it ends up affecting the rest of this race, but right at halfway here in Montreal for these drivers, and it's going to make us a little bit nervous on who's going to be able to make it to the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I cannot tell you, this pit road, when you see these cars and you're going to see them wait for a long time, you called it the IMSA stop. This is like torture watching this live, because it just feels like, oh, there's something going wrong. But no, there's nothing going wrong here with the pit stops. This is just the way it works. Mm-hmm. We'll see here what the difference is off of once these guys actually get done in terms of what it looks like. I think look, everyone's come down. I think it was required for the 51 because, she was really getting held up by Parton. And so I think it was really important. Looks like she's done, and clean pit stop there for the 51, which is great. So I'm very happy about that, and the 11's going to get out second too.
And a good run there for Ludovic, who going to have a good pit stop right there in the 51 machine. Just as I know, he was one of the ones that came onto the last lap right there. And then you got some of these guys who are coming off, who are going to be coming right in the traffic. Bryce Egan, I believe, may have been one of the first drivers who came down the pit lane right there. Duncan Ward as well, kind of merging back in with these drivers, but it seems like the drivers who came in a little bit later had the advantage, and now the race is back on again as Arnsdorf and Kirsten Bell are going after it right there. That, I believe, is for second place as Ludovic has pulled out ahead. And now Arnsdorf and the 93 battling hard for the second position, and Bell still unable to get around Arnsdorf for that second spot.
Arnsdorf was being really aggressive trying to keep the 93 behind. I mean, I assume that's part of that Grattan Autosport team play, but That seems a little egregious. I'm a little biased saying this, but, you know.
Well, ultimately, none of these drivers actually have control over what they do on the racetrack. They have control over the ratings, of course, but what happens on the racetrack, you know, I like to say stays on the racetrack. Laura Chung, you know, that she did this at Charlotte. She did not have a good start to this race, and now she's in the top 10. And Laura's a driver trying to avoid getting cut out of that cut out of the chase. Of course, she does have the win to fall back on that she got at Bristol. And only 24 points ahead coming into this one here at Montreal. And now she finds herself in the top 10 run. Hubert fell back just a little bit there in the 15 machine. Paulus is up to the top 5. The Mango Man. I don't know where that came from, but, you know, they're going for it there on the Team Velocitar camp. And GRT, I know you like seeing it, Stuart. And Daniel has definitely been the most successful driver in terms of victory lane this season. And he is 9 seconds behind Ludovic in the 5th position. Ludovic's got a 6-second lead on the field here in this Tim Hortons Canadian Grand Prix. What a run for Ludovic Streb, trying to get her first win of the season here at her home racetrack.
Just a quick one on the Mango. I must admit, it's there's a little bit of contact between Chung and Miller. That was close.
That was a pass. Or Chung got around Andrew Miller right there. That's for 7th. Miller's going to try to cross back over.
Oh, here we go. It's a good pass here down to the inside. This is what we saw Ludovic do around Arnsdorf. And that's a good, nicely done there by Miller. No contact. He must have made a little bit of a mistake. We've seen a couple of cars run through that 3-4 section that make a few mistakes there, and there's a little bit of chaos. But in terms of the Mango, I don't know what's up with that. I can't lie. I'm not sure what the answer is to that. But we like it, the Mango Man. We're big fans of the Mango. We're a big fan of that. And just quickly on Arnsdorf as well. You know, we can talk about, you know, he's driving one of my cars, the Grand Autosport car, but he's an uncharted driver. And, you know, to be in a position where you're battling for second, we've seen Zayden Davidson. Davidson didn't make the race, of course. But Davidson's finished in the top 5 on multiple occasions. So Arnsdorf's just out there trying to prove that, yeah, he can take it up with some of these really, really good drivers. And the elite of the Wawa Cup Series. And he's doing a very, very nice job.
And, you know, who knows? You know, maybe looking at him having a chartered ride next year. We'll see how that ends up going down. You know, as we move on throughout the summer, I'll be releasing information on how next season is going to go down in terms of the teams and the reserves and the drivers and whatnot. So keep an eye out for that. So we got to figure out the truck series first. How about Andrews Racing right here? How about Alex Imitali? He's been another driver who has had a lot of great runs. And look at who he just passed. Logan Williams did not have a good stop, down to 17th. And behind the guy he's tied for on that cutoff. Now the good thing for Logan is that Blaine has had a terrible day. But Avery Alfred's still running 4th. Alfred's got a shot at closing in. You know, Logan Williams it's gonna come down to 1 or 2 positions 2 weeks from now at Atlanta, and his opportunity to make this chase the way it's been going this season. We'll have to see how it ends up shaking out for him. And I tell you what, Logan Williams does not want to miss the chase for a 3rd time in a row. He has had a lot of success in the Wawa Cup Series, 3-time winner in this series, but he's never made the chase. And starting to slip up the past couple of weeks. I know the road courses are not his strong suit. Trying to do all he can. But right now running in that 17th position. I know you're going to love this one. Stuart, Drew Webb up to 14th. The COTA winner. Really good road course racer. No doubt about it. Drew's been good on the road courses this season. Not particularly anywhere else this year there for you guys at Grand Autosport, which is a shame. The 2023 champion has definitely struggled. Nathan Smith's falling back a little bit there in the 06, down to 13th for the 06 machine. And you got Brian Webb, Haley Anderson. Jack Haas did not have a good run. 20th off the pit lane for Jack Haas in the 39 machine, and that is not at all what he needs, especially with Andrew Miller up ahead of him like that. Of course, Troxel he doesn't really have to worry about in terms of the wild card in this race, but you know, if someone else gets a win like Sam Adio, like Tanner Barton, like Trey Bartow at Pocono or Atlanta, that's going to do it for him. And he's got to be careful not to lose too many points. Ludovic just got around Troxel. Troxel now a lap down. A 7-second lead for Ludovic Charette right now. And everybody's still in the lead lap except for Angel Gutierrez, Thomas Troxel, Brain Perez, Blaine Keys, and Bruno Diakma. Bruno Diakma, the only driver out of the race because of crash damage. Everybody else still on the racetrack, but a couple guys multiple laps down here in Montreal. As Ludovic Charette is putting on a clinic right now, and Arnsdorf still holding up Kirsten Bell. I feel like this 93 is a bit closer to the pace to Ludovic than suggested on the racetrack, but Kirsten's had such a hard time getting around Arnsdorf right here, and Arnsdorf doing a great job holding on to this second position.
We could see it happen here because they're catching a lap car, catching the 44 here. This could be where Kirsten gets it done. If the lap car holds up the 11 just enough for the 93 to be able to make a move, but it'll have to be done very well.
Paulus now under fire from his teammate Matthew Hubert. Hubert got around Andrew Miller. Actually, Hubert was already ahead of Andrew Miller, my apologies. But Miller having a great run in this race as well, up to 7th. And I know he wants to make the chase, and he's got a good shot at doing so for Durrani Racing this season. A bit of an underdog story right there for those guys. Durrani Racing has not had much success in the Wawa Cup Series, but they found a light switch with Andrew Miller. And though Miller has not been as good as the GRT guys or Evans Ross Racing as a whole, he has still found victory lane for the first time back in Rockingham, and has been able to kind of keep this thing in a decent enough position. Have an opportunity at making the chase. Lord Chung there is 8th. Travis Crampton, you know, this is the guy who was dominating the regular season before Ludovic Trek came through the field. He is now 4th on the points, 54 points ahead. He's looking pretty good to have a good day, and more than likely clinch a spot next week at Pocono. And then Isaac Nichols rounding out the top 10 in the number 6 machine. Good run for Brad Stover, teammate there to Andrew Miller at Durrani Racing. Brad has not had a good season in that 78, but he's running in the 12th position. Nathan Smith and Drew Webb behind him right there. And Sam Vitale's gotten around his teammate at Christian Master. And Sam Vitale up to the 15th position. And Sam Vitale also looking to make this chase. He's got a good shot at doing so if this 15th position holds. Logan Williams, Jack Haas trying to make a move there on Brian Webb. Trying to get every point he can possibly get. Got around Haley Anderson there, and now getting around the 43 of Brian Webb, now up to the 18th position there for Jack Haas. Back up to the front. 8-second lead for Ludovic Charette. And look at this, it's Thomas Troxel and Blaine Keys, multiple laps down behind her here in Montreal.
Yeah, it's been a tough day for Pacific Racing's two main guys. We just saw Anderson, of course, but these two guys here, 62 and 32. Remember, 32 won this race a year ago with Chase Buck behind the wheel, and Blaine was right in contention for the win, driving the 41. So amazing how things can change in the span of a year, really. It's been a really tough day caused by that first lap incident, and particularly for Blaine, in the sense that a lot of the guys inside the top 10 or just outside the top 10 are the guys he's competing with for this championship, for the top 10 in points. So, I mean, even down to like Sam Vitale and Williams, they're not terribly far out of it. You've got Alfred up there and still doing a very good job in the top 5. There are lots of drivers that are going to gain a heap of ground of Blaine. This is going to really hurt the 32 in particular. And Troxel, I mean, it goes without saying, the 62 is really, that's a bad luck this year, it has to be said, but it's really, there's a long way off and, in terms of the points, so he's in a bit of strife.
32 is really slow. Like, he is abysmally slow. But this group of the 11.
Oh no, Andrew's gonna overshoot it. Oh, he almost sold it. That was close.
He interrupted me there. I was gonna say, Blaine Keys is really slow. He's much slower than I think we even assumed he would be because of he's been caught by the 11 and the 93.
And he does have damage from the accident, so that's why he's been off the pace as much as he has been. I think he'd have a much better run in this race if it were not for the accident that happened there on the first lap of the race. And qualifying was definitely hugely important. Now, I know you guys didn't see qualifying. Ludovic Charette was not going to make the Fast 6, and then right at the end of the session, pulled a time fast enough to make it in the Fast 6, and then, of course, went on to win the pole for this race. And that has proven to work out very well for us. It's now 5 laps to go here in the Tim Hortons Canadian Grand Prix for Ludovic Charette in the 51 and Grattan Autosport. Darian Arnsdorf and Kirsten Bell still battling for second. They finally got around Braden Perez. Now they're jamming up behind Blaine Keys, and Hubert got stuck behind the 32. Paulus was able to get around, Miller able to get around, and this is a bit of a jam up right here. They got to be careful here, and you got Tanner Parton coming off the pit lane. Oh no, they're going to be 3 wide, and Blaine again getting contact off the exit there. Laura now stuck behind Blaine Keys as they go through 4 and 5 right here. They've got to be careful not to get caught up in any incident right here, and that was close between Hubert and Crampton. Just smashed the wall, and Crampton's in the fence with Isaac Nichols. And they're going to get it going. But Crampton, that's going to hurt him in the points right there, and that is not at all what he needed. And once again, that's 2 races in a row for Isaac Nichols in the 6th machine with crash damage.
Yeah, that's really bad for Nichols in particular. Crampton's got that little bit of a buffer, but Nichols really doesn't. He's only 21 above the cut. He does have 2 wins, of course, so that will help him because he'll be in a wild card position at worst if he has to come down here. But and then that shakes up the whole battle with Haas and Miller and company. But gee, that's a bad break for those 2 guys, particularly for Crampton. That was a teammate that unintentionally got in the middle of all that coming off of pit road. So just a string of bad luck there for all those guys involved.
We'll see how much damage Crampton and Nichols truly have, and if they have to come down the pit lane. Not as bad as Blaine. That 32. That 32's been determining some things right here. Not in the way that he has hoped.
He's just trying to finish this race.
And
he might need to get out
he's
of the way,
hoping for some DNFs. You know, that's what he needs to end up getting a good spot in the points. Somebody down. Nichols is down the pit lane. Crampton's actually staying out, though. So Nichols is the one that's going to end up having to come back down the pit lane right there. More racing action here as they get around Braden Perez. And Paul's able to get around the 44 there. And then in 6th position is Andrew Miller now. 8.6 seconds, by the way, for Ludovic Charette. Now behind Angel Gutierrez for that spot. And yet Arnsdorf there in 2nd. Kiersabel still behind Arnsdorf there for that 2nd spot. Avery Albert having a nice day. He's been in the top 5 all day long. And then Paulus rounding out the top 5 in the 54 machine with Miller, Hubert, Chung, Sam Adio, and now Nathan Smith rounding out the top 10 here. As Travis Crampton's fallen off a little bit right there. I think that crash damage is holding them up just enough, and Blaine Key's actually holding him up there, but I think the speed's going away in the 98 machine from that incident a lap ago.
Trying to get around the 32 here at least. I mean, the thing is, you know, if you're one of those drivers in the wild card race, like look at there's Jack Haas back there. I mean, these cars getting into each other, those are points for you. He's gotten up to 17th. He might try and get around the 69 here. Like, these are points for Jack Haas, whether they come in a way that he earned them or not. They're still points.
Well,
that's what he needs right now.
Yeah, he got points taken away from him at Gateway last week, so I think in his mind, he rightfully thinks he deserves them. 3 laps to go here in Montreal for Ludovic Charette in the number 51, and Isaac Nichols is done for the day after that incident right there. Leonard Kochmer is also looking like he's done for the day. Tough break for him. That is not good for Isaac, and he couldn't really risk that, and he's got the wins to fall back on the wild card, and that's not good for Andrew Miller. Even though Miller's having a great day, you know, he can't risk one of those guys falling from the top 10 outside the top 10 and taking the wild card away from him. That's the benefit that he has had. None of those guys who have race victories have fallen outside in the past few weeks, and now he might have to start thinking about that because Nichols is going to fall back after that incident right there, and after what happened last week on Tuesday, I should say, at Gateway. It's far from over for him. Ludovic Charette, though, just wants a clean race and wants enough fuel to make it to the end, and I'm a little nervous about that, but I have a feeling that these guys should be able to make it to the end. I don't know. You think I'd know this by now. I've been doing this for 10 years, and you think I'd have it figured out, but I don't. And you think Ludovic Charette would have a win by now, but she doesn't, so you gotta love this game and what it brings to you sometimes, and never expect anything from it. And that is what makes winning a Wawa Cup Series championship so difficult. And Ludovic trying to go back-to-back for this title. A win here today would make that so much easier going down the line in these next 10 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in any kind of motorsport, or any kind of sport really, sometimes to be good you've got to be lucky. And I think we look at the 62 for example. He hasn't had a whole lot of luck. Nichols in the last 2 races hasn't had a whole lot of luck. Oh, Duncan Ward's on pit road. Ooh, 23. That's big.
Ooh, that looks like
oil leak.
Oil leak on Duncan Ward. Now he had a buffer coming into this race, but he really just not had a good race at all today. After winning on Tuesday at Gateway. I think it's a good thing he got that win. He got a lot of points from that and should have enough of a buffer going into racetracks that he should run well at, but nothing's guaranteed, especially at tracks like Pocono and Atlanta. Remember Pocono last year? Ludovic Charette actually blew up in that race. Knock on wood, hope that doesn't happen in this race or in that one, but What a masterclass so far for Ludovic Stretch. He's got 1.5 laps to go to solidify the race victory here in the Tim Hortons Canadian Grand Prix at her home racetrack. Darian Arnsdorf still holding on the second. Kirsten Bell, Avery Alford, Daniel Paulus Jr. And you got Andrew Miller, Matthew Hubert back in there. They're trying to get around the 97 to Tanner Pardon, Laura Chung. Nicholas Amadio having another good run. Only downside, he was 64 points off the cutoff, and just a bit too late for him. These better runs that he has been getting. Logan Williams up to 14th now. He's rebounded a little bit there, but Sam Vitale still ahead of him there in 13th. So both of those guys, both of them should actually move up into the top 10 after this race is done. And I know that Blaine's going to be out. Almost dare to say that Isaac Nichols might be on the outside looking and going in the Pocono, but here we go. Coming to the white flag here in the Tim Hortons Canadian Grand Prix. Ludovic Charette in the 51 for Grattan Autosport. One more lap. That's all she's got to do to get this race victory in Montreal. And Stuart, can you hold your breath for a minute 42? That's the big question.
I am very, very nervous. I'm very, very nervous. But it's not unsurprising, I think, really, if she can hold on to win this race, given what happened with Hoda, what she's done. Obviously, the other road courses last year, won both the road course races in the chase last year. That's something to keep an eye on when we get to it. And what she's done this year, I know that obviously hasn't got a win until possibly today, but you know, she's had a mega year. She's had a mega year, and
this has
lots of, particularly the run of races up until Gateway. She and Paulus had like 5 consecutive top 5s in that stretch. I mean, the 51 going to be hard to beat this year.
This has been arguably one of the best seasons anyone has had in the Wawa Cup Series, and she still has yet to go to victory lane. Well, she's about to do so. She's got to be careful here with Gutierrez and Troxel right around her. Just play it conservatively and get this thing to the checkered flag. And Ludovic, she is very passionate about this series and about this team. But I think this win in particular, she's going to be incredibly passionate about for many reasons. Their home racetrack here in Montreal, native of Quebec, and looking to get her first win of the season here in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series. They're looking to extend her points lead, looking to guarantee a spot in the chase. She's not going to clinch the regular season title here today, but Ludovic Charette, out of the final 2 turns around the Wall of Champions, she's going to get the win here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Her first win of the season. It comes at her home racetrack in Montreal. Ludovic Charette wins the Tim Hortons Canadian Grand Prix. Arnsdorf will finish second. Kirsten Bell, Avery Alford, another top 5 for Alford. Watch for Alford to possibly jump into the top 10 here. Paulus with the top 5. Andrew Miller, Matthew Hubert, Laura Chung, Nicholas Amadio, and Nathan Smith, the top 10. But Ludovic, massive chip on her shoulders coming into this race. What a dominating performance out of the number 51. And Stuart, that is 4 straight road course wins for Grattan Autosport in the Wawa Cup Series.
It's pretty good. Pretty good to say so. Hey, there's only been 3 teams that have ever won a road course race in the Wawa Cup Series, and I'm happy to finish. Happy to win the last 4, and just like Coda, it's a 1-2 finish because, of course, it was Drew Webb and Ludovic Charette 1-2 that day. Darian Arnsdorf, hey, full credit to Darian Arnsdorf because as an uncharted driver to finish second in this race and to hold off Kirsten Bell, who had the blowtorch for about 15 of the 21 laps. Mega drive, but great for Bell as well. Gained a lot of points and solidified her spot in the top 10. Alford could be the big mover here in regards to the top 10. He's going to gain a bit of ground. And Paulus with another top 5 as well.
We'll see how it ends up shaking out here. Jack House finishing in 16th back in there. Crampton managed to finish the race in 15th. So that could have been a lot worse for Crampton. He went head on to the wall. Logan Williams finishing 14th. We'll take a look at it here in a moment. Sam Vitale in 13th. A lot of the guys who are up there finished up front. Isaac Nichols, Blaine Keys, Thomas Troxel did not, and they're going to fall back, and they're going to need a miracle in the next couple of weeks at Pocono and Atlanta. Well, Echo, what a race it was here. I know you're happy that Ludovic got this race victory here in Montreal. Home win for her, and I know that Ludovic is going to be really happy about this one, and she was just waiting for the perfect time to get that first win of the season. But how about this race, and how do you think the rest of this regular season is going to play out after what we saw here today in Montreal?
Well, hey, my pick won.
There you go.
You know,
didn't jinx it.
That's the positive I can take away. But the 93-39, I mean, I'm going to focus on my team first here, just because you know how it is. But did pretty good. Jack Haas did a good job recovering from that really bad pit stop. Rasha Mahindra finished pretty solidly, 22nd, pretty good for the hot seat car, which has really been almost just absent just the whole season. So very good run. Overall, generally a fun race. Thought it could have used a little more action in the middle, but overall, very good showing for everyone, and for Ludovic especially. Finally getting her first win. I mean, this is the perfect place for her to do it, and I think that's just going to solidify more that those GRT cars are going to be hard to beat at these kind of tracks, but everyone's got their work cut out for them, I suppose.
They will. Well, the good thing for the rest of the field that makes the chases, there's a reset in the points, and then we go to Chicagoland, and in Road America is the second race, so which she won last year, so we'll have to see how that ends up shaking out for her, but that reset in the points is what drivers, especially like Crampton and Paulus, and I think Kirsten, are going to absolutely welcome here in a couple of weeks. That was a fun race, and we're going to see how these points shake up, because it's going to be very fascinating. Final thoughts on this one, Stuart? I know you like to see your drivers go to victory lane, and I know you are finally happy that Ludovic finally got that race victory here in Montreal.
Oh, definitely. There's been a few near misses with the 51 this year, a few races that she could have won. So great to finally break through. And hey, 1-2. I'm not going to complain. The last three races, Grad and Autosports won, we finished 1-2, which is very, very funny to think about that. But yeah, I mean, once she got past Arnsdorf, the race was hers. So she had full control of it and kept it, very clean. It just demonstrated the skill that she has on these road courses. It was fantastic to see, and nice to finally break through. It had been a few months since Grattan Autosport and name had actually won in the Cup Series, so it's nice to get that one. That's another GRT win. We like that. Points will be very interesting because you see Nichols 31st. He could be in a bit of strife. We know about Blaine obviously finishing 41st. He's going to be the big loser today, but and Parton as well, 38th. It's hard for him to make it now, I would think. But Nichols in particular is the one that's going to be a watch, because he could be out of the top 10, and if he's out of the top 10, that gives him a wild card, which makes the battle very interesting all of a sudden, because now you've got Haas and Miller very close to each other, and it's a lot closer of a battle than it was coming into the race.
It is.
So. We'll see what happens with that. And Alfred was a great performance from him to get fourth, to gain on the top 10. Probably the 13 was probably the biggest winner of the lot. Miller finished 6th as well, so full credit to him for what he did. Brad Stover 11th, by the way. So Durrani had a good race today with both cars. It's been a tough year for Brad, so good on him for 11th.
Definitely a great run for those guys. Great run for Grattan Autosport. I mean, Drew Webb finished 12th. I mean, that's the other car that gets points in the owner's standings for you, Stuart. So Arnsdorf, unfortunately, doesn't get you any points for the owner's title.
And the hot seat, my hot seat beat yours, Echo. Even though we started 41st.
Right there. Campbell Marsh and Rashi Mahendra.
And only 2 seconds.
Yeah, mine started 41st.
A fun race here in Montreal. Thank you all so much for watching here. And 2 races left until the chase cutoff. It's Pocono. Hers forever good, 400. We're in the Commonwealth next week. I'm excited for that one. Home state race for me. And then, of course, after that, Atlanta with the Celsius Peach 5 400. The chase cutoff race, Atlanta under the lights. Oh boy, that's going to be a lot of fun once we get to that point, because this cutoff's going to be close. You guys are going to see it here in just a moment. But we do know that Ludovic Shred is guaranteed a spot in the Wawa Cup Series chase after her win here today in Montreal. Thank you so much for watching. Here are the point standings for the Wawa Cup Series after 20 races. And on behalf of Echo Evans Ross and Stuart Grattan, congratulations to Ludovic Shred on her first win of the season. First win on the year on the channel. She finally got one overall. We'll see you guys next week. from the Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, for the Hers Forever Good 400. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I will see you guys later.